Hello and welcome. It's the Cosmic Diva here for another little tidbit of information to help you along the journey that is taking place with all of us right now. There is, as usual, a lot going on, starting to flow a little bit better with this roller coaster of ups and downs and sleeplessness and bursts of energy, and it seems like something is wrong with us, but in reality nothing is wrong with us. What we're dealing with is a planetary shift. A lot of planets are moving and shifting, and according to some, the Earth is in the process of aligning with the Sun in the galactic center. There's also speculation that we're in a binary star system with Sirius, which has been on the other side of the Sun, and we're shifting. Also, on top of all of that, we also have Uranus, which has been in retrograde for the last 3 months. In that process as well, we've also had a Mercury retrograde, so we've had a double retrograde, which has been very, very intense. When Uranus went retrograde, I didn't recognize it at first, and all of a sudden we had a house guest in the house, and my husband and I had a couple conflicts, and about a week or two into it, I also went into a convulsive crying fit for about 10 hours over some injustice and pain that had happened almost a year before. Uranus is also the rebel planet, so it's also a very volatile time for unrest and all of these things. So we've had these worldwide protests going on. We've had the whole thing with Libya began. So there's been a whole lot going on in this process of Uranus retrograde. So it's important for you to take note that when you find yourself on these roller coasters, a lot of people working very hard with their solar plexus as well. Lots of stomach problems, stomach pains, cramps, and things like that. You need to, when you are experiencing these things and you don't really know where they come from or why, I would say it's a good time to look into the different planetary alignments that are affecting you right now. How I came to my belief in the planetary alignments is quite interesting, because I've always believed in these things, but it was really solidified when I used to receive a magazine called The Mountain Astrologer, and it came out 2 months before it was actually due and made for. So they would actually make their predictions and things about 2 months prior. So before September 11th, I got my magazine in July, and I didn't think anything of it. And on the cover there were UN tanks and oil refineries and military airplanes, and inside the magazine, I didn't even pick it up until after September 11th, just because I would often just scan after things would happen. I mean, that's how I become to a lot of these beliefs, is first by having the information, and then I would always reflect after things would happen, and then I would say, okay, wow, okay, that is pretty predictory. So I open up the magazine after September 11th, and it talks about Chernobyl, it talks about World War II, it talks about unrest in the Middle East, it talks about problem with flights and airlines and all of these different things that could happen. They couldn't say exactly what would happen, but they basically said that these things have happened in the past during this alignment, and it was a Saturn-Pluto opposition. There was quite a long list of things that were in alignment with what went on in September that had happened in the past. And I remember everyone at work was kind of laughing at me, and I brought this magazine in, and because I was always metaphysical, and at the time I was in one of my very few and only real sort of office type jobs I ever had, and I started passing the magazine around, and they all were kind of like, whoa, what is this? And over the course, I mean, I could always feel when Mercury was retrograde. And I learned a few things about Mercury too. Like when I'm in a complete balance with everything in my life, Mercury doesn't have the same impact. What Mercury seems to do when it goes retrograde is it brings up all the unresolved issues. So if you have things that are unresolved, if you have questions in your relationships, if you have animosities or problems going on with your housemate, anything that's unvocalized or unworked through or standing in your way is going to be catalyzed. And for most people, including myself, even when everything is perfect, something generally does come up during Mercury retrograde. It has this capacity of bringing all the difficulties up to the surface and also exaggerating maybe what would really be a minor difficulty, making it into something bigger than it actually is. What I've noticed a lot over the last few months is just these high energies, these deep lows. I would go through periods of debate, like, the first process was dealing with some deeply rooted ideas and emotions that I had around certain things that were causing separation amongst people and humanity. So I probably spent the first month and a half working through a lot of those things because they were at the root of a lot of hatred that I had experienced and had to battle with other people. So that was sort of the first phase. The second phase was coming out of that and back into a sort of higher realm, and also coming into a new phase of knowledge and understanding of things. And my vibration would rise, and then all of a sudden I felt like a deep crash, and I was reaching out to a lot of people at this time, and then there were periods where I couldn't sleep at night, and I was only sleeping part of the day, which I was wondering maybe this had something to do with the solar flares, making me more exhausted during the day and more awake at night. So a lot of people are dealing with these things right now. So before you start thinking you're crazy, before you start wondering what's wrong with you, before you start listening to the commercials on the TV that want to tell you that something is wrong with you because you are processing all these deep pains or dealing with all these emotions or rebelling against systems that you have went along with forever, understand that this is part of the planetary shift. This is part of the movement that is taking place at the moment. We still have a bit more to go. They talked about Nibiru and Elenin and all of that, and in some ways I think that was just a big way for people to say, take note of this period right now. There is something going on. And so, there are some people that say this last alignment where I crashed really hard was our alignment also with Elenin or Nibiru. So whatever it was, because there is no solid information on that, there was definitely some kind of alignment that just happened, and we are moving out of this Uranus retrograde. It will go direct, I think, in the first or second week of November. So keep your eye on that date because everything's going to suddenly come into balance in a new way. But you need to understand that we are going to be going in and out of these processes. Our emotions are going to be rising, our energy levels, our sleeping patterns, our chakras are going to be working out. So do be aware, investigate, look around, find out what's going on planetary and what its purpose, and try to work with it as much as you can. Thank you very much, and that's it for this one. There'll be more soon. Sorry it took me so long. I'll see you soon. Ciao.